Alright, we all know this review is far too late to be useful, but we're making it anyway. The Party Wagon released alongside the other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle tanks when that collab went live last month, and during a 3-week long event period, you could earn 25% discounts on every single tank. But the Party Wagon could actually be earnable for free entirely as well. It took me till the last Sunday of the 3 weeks to finish the op and secure my Party Wagon. I just wasn't feeling the game and it was really bad timing, but I pushed myself to secure the tank anyway, and after a few gaming sessions I gave it some playtime, and now it's time to tell you guys what I think about it. And up front, it is a power creep tank in every aspect. Comparing it to its tech tree counterpart, the Skoda T50, the Party Wagon is just the superior tank. So let's go over why. Starting with its gun, the Pizza Pelter, as the gun is called, is indeed a 100mm gun like the T50, but unlike the T50, it does more alpha damage per round with its 360 alpha damage over the T50's 320. Hearing that, you might expect some downsides to compensate, right? Well, yeah, the reload is longer by 2.5 seconds at 27.5 seconds reload time, which still gives it a slightly higher DPM value with its 2084 to the T50's 2016. Both tanks have a 3-round clip, with a 1.8 second interclip between shots, but of course the clip potential of the Party Wagon is higher by 120 alpha from its higher alpha rounds, with 1080 clip potential, breaking the 1000 damage threshold on its potential, whereas the T50 is just below 1000 clip potential. It of course doesn't stop there with the power creep, as we have some interesting choices when it comes to the rounds fired from this tank. They are basically the same rounds as the Skoda T50, with standard APCR with 248mm of penetration, and premium heat rounds with only 310mm of penetration. But the interesting part is the choice to raise the shell speeds, and not by a little. The APCR round on the Skoda T50 has 1400 meters per second shell velocity, while on the Party Wagon, they have a fantastic 1520 shell velocity. And the heat rounds get an even bigger increase, going from only 900 meters per second velocity on the Skoda T50 to a very good 1075 meters per second velocity on the Party Wagon. So even when comparing just the shells between the two tanks, they may look the same, but one's clearly better at hitting shots at distance with that shell speed increased for no real reason other than I guess they could. Last thing to compare with the guns are the gun handling statistics, and here the Skoda actually gets a singular win. The Party Wagon does get a better aim time at 2.1 seconds, but its accuracy is 0.02 worse at 0.37 to the Skoda's 0.35, so yay for the Skoda. They both share the same 8 degrees of gun depression, however, and normally after talking about the gun and ending on gun depression, we switch into talking about the armor and how it can use that gun depression. But I actually want to save the armor for last because it's the most mind-blowing part of the tank to me, and I instead want to talk about its mobility next. This tank does have turbo mode, believe it or not, and even with its base top speed, it's still faster than the Skoda T50 by 5 kilometers an hour, with its 60 base speed to the T50's 55. They both have 1000 horsepower, but with the heavy weight of the TVP versus the Skoda and the armor we'll see later added, its horsepower to weight ratio is worse, but it's still good being above 20 at 23.15. I said with the heavier weight of the TVP versus the Skoda, of course, because if you couldn't tell, it uses the model of the TVP instead of the Skoda, despite being a tier 9 and not a tier 10. And that's because this is a skin from PC turned into a full-fledged tank like many other collaborative tanks we get, and in fact, all of the TMNT tanks are like this. Skins for tanks on PC, but full-fledged and priced tanks on console. Don't you love it? Anyway, back to the speed. When using turbo mode, you gain 10 more top speed and lose camo, aim time, and tank bloom, but not accuracy. But honestly, you already go 60 with enough horsepower. I never found myself needing to use the turbo mode for any reason. It takes 2 whole seconds to switch between modes with the tank. That's 4 seconds total going into then out of the mode, which requires you to come to a standstill and not be able to fire or do anything. So I think you're better off just staying out of turbo mode and only using it for edge case scenarios of being on the complete other side of the map from the last enemy or something. If the journey you need is not long enough, you might actually be wasting time switching into turbo mode and out of it from the time standing still and switching. So yeah, the turbo mode exists, but it doesn't even need it since it goes 60 base anyway. You're better off with speed equipment if you want to go faster and not lose camo and gun handling while you're at it. And speaking of camo, this tank's concealment is kind of funny to me. I already pointed out it is a TVP brought down a tier in terms of its model, but in terms of its concealment and spotting capabilities, it's actually identical to the TVP. Of course, making it better than the Skoda because the Party Wagon has tier 10 stats at tier 9. While the Skoda has a 400 meter base view range, this tank has the TVP's 410 meters base view range, and the concealment is of the TVP's 375 meter moving and 352 meter still, which is better than the Skoda's 389 and 370 concealment values. This should have matched the tier 9's values, despite being a different model, purely because of the tier drop from 10 to 9 for the TVP model. It makes no sense to just reuse tier 10 stats on a tier 9 like that, but that's what Wargaming has decided, so it is what it is. And now we get to the armor, and immediately I think you can see why I felt the need to save this for last. Just look at all that added spaced armor on the tank, and its armor is the same underneath all of that spaced armor as the tier 10 TVP, again though at tier 9. Which the TVP isn't known for being well armored of course, but it's not a super paper tank. It has a nice upper plate and decent mantlet that could get you bounces on occasion, and now this thing has extra spaced armor protection against heat and HE rounds, while also adding thicknesses to certain areas that will help bounce even AP and APCR rounds too. The biggest example being this 80mm thick turtle shell on the front that covers the already nicely angled 70mm upper plate, making that spot way more effective for whatever reason. And all that honeycomb 20mm spaced armor on the turret, the extra bits on the side, all of it makes it that much more reliable at taking shells and again, denying heat pens. I found it so weird how often I actually got really nice bounces and absorptions while playing this tank. It was really surprising at how much this armor really got upgraded here. Over detailed honestly, and really effective at changing how aggressive you can be with this tank. And remember the gun stats we already talked about, so you can just aggressively push someone with increased clip potential and potentially not even take a pen either. It really is something with this power creep. I suppose we're lucky it shares the same HP with the Skoda though, and they didn't decide to give it more since it's a tier 10 brought down a tier. It shares the same 1650 HP as the Skoda. And of course, with all that being said, we can conclude that this tank is quite good, and one of the biggest examples of many issues with the game at the moment in my eyes at least. The power creep of premium tanks, the over-detailed armor models on newer tanks and Cold War updated tanks, and the odd choice of down-tiering skins and just making skins full-fledged tanks in general from PC's collaborations. This tank could have existed in a state of sort of preference symbiosis with the Skoda T50, but instead they decided to make it better in almost every single way. I think its alpha and turbo mode would be fine to keep, but the shell speed increases shouldn't have happened. The interclip should have been lengthened to 2.5 seconds to compensate for the alpha increase, and the base speed should match at 55, so if you want to go faster, you take the hit to your other stats by using turbo mode. Because right now you don't even need to use the turbo mode to go faster than the Skoda because you're already faster at base. Those few changes alone would have made this less power creep and more so an interesting choice of preference. Do I play my Skoda for the quicker clip dump but less damage, or the Party Wagon for the slower dump but more damage and the turbo mode for added utility? It would really add a choice between the two rather than just being a superior tank. The spotting capabilities and concealment should have been the same too, despite being different models of tanks, and the armor model should be much more simplified with less clutter and added RNG. It's just a lot to take in with this tank at how much better it is than a Skoda T50, and the Skoda is not a bad tank either, but I see no reason to play it over this tank at all anymore, and I don't think Wargaming cares about that at all anyway. They're fine with making other tanks irrelevant or just straight up replacing them with a better and paid for tank, and there's nothing we can really do about that. I find it odd they allowed this one to be the free tank, however, though, because of how much power creep it is. I found this tank really easy to play too, and thus kind of boring, which is something I should mention as well. It's one of the reasons I don't play overpowered tanks, because if they're too easy to play, then they're sort of boring at the same time. And this one just performed so easily. I'll spoil it now though, even with the good games I got, I did not ace the vehicle, and that surprised me because again this tank was earnable for free, so I expected the ace values to be quite low. But it seems to be very high right now. Anyway, let's not jump the gun to the gameplay just yet, let's go over my loadout first. I ran with optics, vert stabs, and vents. This tank obviously can't get a gun rammer as it is an autoloader, and its accuracy while moving definitely needs help. Even with the vert stabs, it's not that good. And with a really nice base view range at 410, optics is always a great choice. And vents is there to help boost everything, including what my other two equipment pieces are boosting right now. As for the consumables, we're using a premium repair kit, food rations, and a premium med kit, and for our commander perks, we have 6th Sense, rapid loading, steady aim, run and gun, snapshot, born leader, camo expertise, situational awareness, and silent driving. Now let's get into the gameplay. And here we are on Erlenberg. It is Encounter, which is unfortunate because Encounter on this map is one of those maps where you can see we spawn sort of further away from where we would if it was standard, meaning it takes us that much longer to get to the B9 area and actually fight under their noses. Instead, we gotta get, sniped out from before we could reach there. So that's why most of my team is deciding not to go this way. And I'm pretty sure soon here I will notice this and turn around, because with an autoloader, you definitely can't take on the whole team by yourself. There's no point in me going this way. There it is. There's me turning around. Before we get too deep into the gameplay too, I just want to say I've made a community post about moving, but it's best to just discuss it in a video. I did move. New internet, new space, new this, new that, new responsibilities. So the videos, I was hoping to get like 3 done a week, and I was almost doing that. But now it seems I'm definitely only going to have time to make 1 a week. Unless I can make some quick ones. But with the editing that the reviews here take, I think 1 a week. So apologies if, you're wondering, oh my god, Cone didn't post, or his last video was the news video a week ago. Where's his next one, Is he done? No, I'm not done. There will just be a little bit longer period in between each video, because this one took me the longest to make, over 3 days instead of over just the normal 1 or 2. This one's taken me 3.5 actually, but anyway. We have moved away from the top right of the map, and we've come over here because this is where the team is, so just support the team, right? We're not starting off very well. There's really nothing to do at the moment. This isn't a tank I want to scout with. This isn't a tank I want to make any unnecessary plays with. It's an easy tank to play, but that's only because I find being opportunistic very easy to do. And it's very good at being opportunistic. Again, that 1,000+ clip potential, and only having to shoot 3 rounds instead of 4 like on a TVP at tier 10, just means the window of opportunity to hit your shots and to take them, you spend less time doing it while gaining more out of it versus a Skoda T50. Our mouse who went solo over there is now dead, and there's a full health Super Conqueror, not full health, but close enough, running on up. Got 1 into his lower plate, but he's going to push and push and push until he gets into a very good position. And what I want to do is prevent him from getting into that position. So while I'm on reload, I'm just going to make my way over here and get down into this ravine, not ravine, but this like ridge. The T249 shows up though, and he's gonna give me 1, and then he's trying to kill my arty. I check how much he did to the arty, and wow, just in my 1.8 seconds intro clip, he almost killed my artillery with artillery 2.0 HP buff. I take this risky play here just to put the last one of the mag into a Terran, and notice how many tanks there are there now. So I'm deciding, do I want to stay here and put out another potential mag, or do I want to run off? Already got baited, and we are going to turn around and get some more damage off, because I noticed that I have 2 tanks up forward, and if I spot the tank destroyers, potentially the heavy tank and the 2 TDs behind me might give me some spotting damage. One of them gets spotted on his own though, and I did load heat for something. I believe it was this 2685, and there he goes, 3 into his turret. He almost turned enough to where I couldn't pen it, but we're fine now. Keep the heat loaded. Remember, it was for this Type 5. That's why I'm staring at it. Remember, I have 1,075 shell speed on the heat rounds now, whereas if I was playing in a Skoda T50, sniping with heat rounds would be very, very difficult with 900 meters per second shell speed. You notice there too in the gameplay a little bit of a rubber band. Like I said, I have new internet. It is not perfect, or in my opinion, as good as my old one, but it is what it is. We're waiting for opportunities here, letting the heavy tank poke with armor rather than poking with no armor for us. We don't lead it enough, and I'm like, okay, well, this should be enough, right? Unfortunately, the Artie couldn't have hit him just a bit sooner, so I could have gotten the kill, but thank God the Artie did kill him, because once we missed that first round, two of them were not going to kill him, and we definitely did all right compensating for our shell speed there. This heavy tank looked like he was about to drown himself, but now we're just waiting for the type 5 or 4, whatever it was, to poke. At this point, it's 10-7, and you can notice with the new HP bars that despite being up 3, we really don't have that much more advantage on the health points side of things. But we're going to get ourselves an advantage by putting a clip into this guy. We missed one. We put one in. Can we get the third one in? We're actually... It just keeps going back and forth on that HP. But 9-6, but the HP is still identical at the moment. I do wish it was exact values so that you could tell whether or not... You know, with one team having 9 tanks being at 25% HP... It could just mean like the enemy team has super heavies alive still, which are a nice chunk of their HP. Which, I mean, our mouse did die, and they have a type 5 still alive. So, you know what I mean? I wish it was more exact damage values. Maybe that'll be an option we get in a future season. But it's still very helpful to have the percentages in the health bars in the first place. 8-4, again, still kind of equal on this HP side of things until we start taking down the type 5 and getting rid of his HP. We decide we can push here now because, well, we know where one of their heavies are and we could just take a hit because we've had all of our HP this entire time. I don't have my heat rounds loaded, but we should have the rear of the type 5, so we're going to take advantage of that. We'll put one right there. Keep aiming at the womp womp. He was just at a bad angle. If I aimed at his ass, I might have still bounced it. He turned his turret to the right just a little bit, and that screwed me over. I'm surprised I'm not loading heat here, though, but there you go. There's a bounce. It literally came in at the perfect angle for a penetrating shot, but I guess RNG said no to that guy. We almost get hit by a BZ-75. Luckily, we found cover, and he decided to shoot at our light tank, or our tank destroyer, whichever one behind me. And now that he's on reload, now's the time to push up. We know they still have an artillery, so we're still gonna look for the artillery rather than the BZ because we have the angle to do so. Where is he? Where is he? Where's this little pig? Any moment now, any moment. Spotted by the BZ who's running. No, he's not. Artie's running. You see him on the minimap. Again, notice our tracks ate a shot, apparently. BZ, poor guy. And that is 5,000 damage. We didn't get the kill on the BZ. Can we reload in time, though, to get some more damage on this 261? Our Terran's running in. Our Terran is definitely going to get it. But maybe we can get some shots on the Type 5 from all the way over here. Which we sure can. Again, I don't have heat loaded, but he's giving me his side perfectly. And we pick up our third kill for 5,800 damage. There you go. Now, I believe I already said in the review portion that these are first classes. And I'm very surprised that this wasn't an ace. Look at that. 1902 base XP for tier 9. That's pretty darn good. That'll usually get you an ace in a tier 8. But this tier 9... free handed out tank 1902, only a first class. Oh well. And again, the second one is a first class as well, and it's also encounter because all I get is ever encounter. It's a little joke we have on the stream that I'm plagued with encounters. So encounter Dukla Pass, not a lot of players go to the right, so I'm gonna drive in front of my teammate there and cause him to stop because it's Carnave, har har. Slappa's in the Skoda T50. Shout out to Slappa. And we're going to roll together on over here. Our other platoon mate and potentially some more green friends, but hopefully our team survives the initial frontal battle that they'll have on the F and D line. Something's already on the cap, which is kind of absurd, but it's, of course, their light tank. Now, Slap is already pushed up into a good position. I'm going to go over here to sort of get a pinch on whatever might try and push him. If they push him, I have side shots into them. If they push me, he'll have side shots into them as well. So, a little bit of support positions back and forth. But as you see, our heavy tank platoon mate is pushing on forward. So that means we can do the same. If nothing's here, we're not going to wait for something to show up. We're going to get some control of this area by securing it. And still nothing is showing up. Nothing at all. I do wish I got an ace with this vehicle, but like I said, with the XP values, these would already be aces if it wasn't a brand new vehicle. And I don't feel like playing it anymore to get an ace on it. Because like I mentioned, it being just so much better than the Skoda T50, it takes away any like feeling of overcoming the challenge of certain tanks. And when a tank's just so easy, it really just is boring to play. So I've gotten these games, I've gotten a bunch of other 5K games, and I'm just, I don't need to play it anymore. BZ's hold down. I'm trying to look for a shot on his drive wheel. He wasn't pushing up enough for me. It's 2.5 minutes into the game, and I've done nothing, but that's, again, just because Dukla pass and counter fights normally don't happen down the 9 line, but we tried to look for it. We put 1,038 into the BZ, who our platoon mate Carnage finishes off. That 1,000 plus clip potential, even though we low rolled it, still did 1,000 damage with 3 shots in just under, what, 4 seconds? Just under 4 seconds. Which is pretty good. The Skoda would do under 1,000 guaranteed. Unless you high roll all 3, which, like I said, guaranteed you do under 1,000. Unless you get a fire as well. But another under 4 seconds shots into that guy. Fortunately, he took some other damage, so we don't get 2,000 damage, but that's fine. This is just the opportunistic side of things. Every clip is going to be 1,000 damage in 4 seconds. Very, very good. Very, very good. Taking the long routes to get the size of vehicles. I feel like the only thing holding this tank back, and the Czechoslovakian tanks in the first place, their mediums at least, is they're kind of mid-pen. Having standard APCR is always cool, but when it's 248 and having the downsides of the lower normalization and the worse damage drop-off, it's kind of rough. And then only having 310 heat. We do hit the 3,000 damage mark, though. High rolling our clip on the T14 Bat there. 7 to 8. This game was before the update. With the health bars, it seems. APCR goes in once. APCR goes in twice. APCR doesn't go in the 3rd time. I'm willing to take 2 out of 3 shots for 490 round into me, because we did more damage with 2 shots. Didn't want to load the heat. Thank God I didn't have to, because he died. We just reload and move on. Notice in neither of these games did I or have I switched into rapid mode yet. Again, I'm telling you, it's just not worth it. If I would have switched into rapid mode right after I shot the 277 to drive over this way, I would have spent 2 seconds standing still instead of picking up speed. And then once I get here, you're going to want to switch off because you lose camo and aim time and gun handling. You don't lose base accuracy, but you lose gun handling. And you don't want all that, so 4 seconds and you lose all that if you decide to switch into it just to keep it 2 seconds. It's not worth it. Now, I would love to get this Avery kill, and after putting 1 clip into him, I can get it now, but someone else is shooting at him, so I'm only hoping they can stop, maybe, but unfortunately, I don't think they will. They've put 2 into him, and there he goes. The Charioteer finishes him off. No Avery kill for us. We're almost at 300, by the way. If you ever stop by the streams, you might notice that we have an Avery kill count. And we are almost at 300 on the Avery kill count. We got 3 the other day. It was beautiful. 5-3. Again, this was before the health pool update, so we don't know how close it is. But we know the 60 TP is kind of chunky right now. He's going to require 2 clips, and I don't have heat loaded. His lower plate's very thin and well angled that I might bounce one of these, but look at that. 2 go in, and the 3rd one does not. That's fine. I can still kill him with this next clip if I don't low roll too badly. Fortunately, I don't load the heat rounds, but you can see I was looking at my turret there because we bounced his shot. Again, just the bounces you'll get in this vehicle will surprise you. We get some free ram damage, I suppose, from the UDES. Unfortunately, we didn't get to shoot him. We did shoot around, but we didn't get to shoot him for that extra damage. Can we make it a 6,000 damage game? Well, we might have to go chasing the Murat. And indeed, we will. He has what we need. Just enough HP to put us over the 6,000 damage mark. And give us our 3rd kill if we secure it. And again, I could switch into speed mode to go chasing after him for that 10 extra km/h top speed, but it's just unnecessary because once I find him, I'm going to need to switch out of it to be able to hit him. Plus, he could outspot me if I switch into speed mode, so it's not worth it. Look, I'm going perfectly fast. Like, it's so unnecessary. What's good about the fighting a Murat here with this vehicle is even if he gets the first shot off onto me, his intro clip's long enough that if I get my shot off immediately after he hits me, I'm getting my 2nd shot out before he does. He gets another kill on our autoloader, and we missed that shot because we decided to just RBRT it. And we hit our 6,000 damage mark, but now we're on reload. We should have reloaded that entire time we were driving over here, but he's probably on reload too after killing the 5100. Didn't expect me. And by the time he reloads or pushes me, I got 6 seconds left. Hopefully this is good enough. I'm waiting around the corner. I'm fine. We miss ours into his track, but again, like I just mentioned, even after he hit me, my intro clip is so much faster that I get my 2nd round out before he can finish me off. And there you go. This one was only 1772 base XP, which, if you remember the first base XP game, this one's obviously not an ace tanker. Which is fine. Again, I think this tank is pretty easy to play. It's clearly power creep. And that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.